Go for it.
Once upon a time, there was a tortoise named Buffett who liked reading and thinking, and a hare called Trader Hare who liked to borrow money. One day, they had an argument about who could make money grow fastest. "Let's have a race." "Okay, why not? I'll try not to beat you by too much, Tortoise Buffett. May the best animal win." They agreed on a goal and started the race. Quick as a flash, Trader Hare shot off to the bank and borrowed some money so he would have capital to invest. Tortoise Buffett also wanted to invest, but his investment capital came from the income he made by working hard, really hard. He sold Coca-Cola and chewing gum, door to door, delivered newspapers, recycled golf balls, sold magazine subscriptions, and put pinball machines in barber shops. He knew the way to win was by saving 10% of his income and then wisely investing those savings. As Trader Hare thought he was well ahead of the tortoise, he had a great idea. Why not stop for lunch? He found a wonderful shady tree with soft green grass underneath. The whispering wind told Trader Hare, "Sleep, sleep, sleep." Tortoise Buffett, still saving 10% of his income and investing with a purpose, passed a tree with Trader Hare sleeping underneath it. Trader Hare soon woke up with a jolt as he remembered he must repay the bank before he could finish the race. But whilst he'd been asleep, the value of his investments had gone down. Trader Hare did not have enough money to pay back his loan. The bank made Trader Hare bankrupt just as he made a dash for the finish line. Debt is a 4-letter word and means a 4-word sentence. Be prepared for trouble! Only to find the triumphant tortoise waiting for him at the finish line. Tortoise Buffett, the champion. The moral of the story: work hard and save 10% of your income, then invest your savings wisely. Tortoises hate debt and always keep enough cash in the bank for 6 months' living expenses. Good habits are the basic tools that will determine whether you are a tortoise or hare in life. Warren Buffett is one of the best learning machines on this earth. The turtles that outrun the hares are learning machines. If you stop learning in this world, the world rushes right by you. Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger has been Warren Buffett's business partner for over 50 years. So he knows Warren reasonably well. I insist on a lot of time being spent almost every day to just sit and think. That is very uncommon in American business. I read and think. So I do more reading and thinking and make less impulse decisions than most people in business. I do it because I like this kind of life. Warren Buffett. Just to reflect on that last quote by Warren Buffett, Mel.
Yep.
What I really did was I went a lot deeper into the first part of that quote for this new story,
Okay.
The Door to the Temple of Wisdom. Because in the beginning of this quote he says, I insist on a lot of time being spent almost every day
Yeah.
to sit and think.
I do that a lot too. At least a minimum of half an hour just to sit in the sun with a magazine, and then when I'm sitting there, ideas will pop into my head.
Absolutely.
And I'll write it down. And then I'll just go back to sitting there. Have the music on, whatever, my coffee, but just to sit and think. And I find that if you don't do that, you get overwhelmed. Your brain just gets overwhelmed. So, yeah, carry on. I mean...
So habit 13, so we'll talk about another habit.
Yeah.
Habit 13, that's the habit that we wanted to illustrate with this latest story, The Door to the Temple of Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So, habit 13 is, I am that, I am intuitive. I take note of my hunches, dreams, visions that are revealed in my third eye.
Yeah.
And the still voice that whispers. I write it down in my 13 Habits journal.
And that's very important.
That is what the new book's whole story is about, that
Awesome.
habit. And so, of course, we're just doing edutainment.
Yep.
So we're just sharing a story, and whilst you're enjoying the story, hopefully you'll
Getting
get
educated. Learning.
You'll get something really worthwhile out of it, you know. It's a bit like eating a plum. You enjoy the juice, but you're eating its flesh, and it nourishes your body.
Yeah.
And so whilst you're having a nice break, you stopped for lunch, eating that juicy plum, and then, you know, naturally your body is nourished. And so in this case, what we're concerned about is nourishing one's mind.
And that's very important. I mean, the thing as a child, right, growing up, you know, and I remember my childhood quite well, and it wasn't the best of childhoods, and for whatever reason. But what I do remember is that at that point you're learning a lot of things. You're learning to write, you're learning to read, you're learning to make friends, you're learning how your parents work, what they do, who your friends are, who aren't your friends, and trying to develop all these skills. But you also are dreaming about what your future is going to be. I'm going to be a fire truck engineer or driver or whatever. I want to be an astronaut. And, you know, and that's at that point that people go, oh, get realistic. You know, there's only 6 astronauts. Yeah, but you know what? So, if that's your dream, if that kid wants to learn that, how do we know that in 30 years down the road that child isn't going to be Buzz Armstrong or whatever, you know, or Neil Armstrong isn't going to be sitting in that thing, because we don't know the future.
We spend a lot of time robbing people of their, you call it a dream, I call it an ideal.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do is nurture their ideals, and carrying that on to habits. Our second habit is intelligence. I am that. I'm intelligent. I'm intensely curious. Always asking questions. Who, what, when, where, why? I'm looking for answers by reading everything I can that concerns my purpose. I'm a multidisciplinary learning machine. And so the habits are ideals, and the stories bring these ideals to life, so that the students, if I said to them, well, you should meditate every day, they go, what? Whereas, you know, when we share the story the way we have with Fireball's Travels, The Door to the Temple of Wisdom, it really does... it resonates. It's going to resonate with that child. The pictures will do that, the words. And we got some really great reviews from year 7 and 8 at Massey Primary School. And, you know, they said they just loved it. They felt like they were in the book when they were reading it. So the descriptions really made them feel like they travelled to ancient Egypt.
Yeah. I mean, that's an amazing thing. I mean, if you can reach into the imagination of a child. because, you know, if you can plant a seed in there, it's going to grow over time.
Absolutely. And so any ideal that they have needs to be nurtured, and it's the expectations of those around them that will help them to nurture it. And if you see, you know, a child like Peter Jackson, he was nurtured by his parents.
Yeah.
Even in his 30s, he was still being nurtured by his parents. They'd turn up and they'd cook up scones for the crew or whatever. And they were always there to support and nurture. That was their only child.
Yeah.
And they truly allowed that ideal to become a reality. And what a wonderful thing that is done for so many people in New Zealand. Well, so many people all over the world have enjoyed The Lord of the Rings.
Exactly, and out of that, all those films and all those years, I mean, we had Stuart Devaney, who was on a couple of his films.
Absolutely, oh, did he?
Yeah,
Did
so
you? Oh, wow.
so I mean, so the thing is that you do not know what will happen in the future. So all you got to do is help your child in whatever field they're thinking about. If they want to do sports, hey, get them a ball.
Yeah, support that
know?
dream, you know,
Yeah.
and it's amazing what they can do with it.
The other thing is that dreams will change. Right? He'll decide, oh, actually, I'm not really good at this, but let him come to that realization. Don't be that person to say, well, no, you're not really good at this.
Well,
the other thing,
it's just failure. And
Yeah.
I mean, failure as a teacher, a harsh one perhaps,
Yeah.
but the best.
yeah,
And so we shouldn't take failure too seriously. And that is a real problem with that people take failure seriously. Failure is just a stepping stone towards success.
that's it. And no matter how many times you fall over, you can always get up.
Absolutely. No one fails in learning how to walk.
Yeah.
Pretty much every child masters that. And look how many times they failed. Well, there
Yeah.
would be thousands of times that
Yeah,
they
and
failed.
if and then you go, oh, that baby's failed. Baby cannot walk anymore. So baby, no more walking for you. That's what we do with kids when they have an idea.
Basically, yeah.
When they have a dream.
We steal their ideals from them.
Yeah.
And which is just a terrible thing.
It is, and it's just, you know, I mean, there's the worst thing you can say to a child is you'll never amount to anything.
That is true, yeah. And, oh, you'll end up in jail.
Yeah.
And parents do say those
They
things.
do. They
You know,
do.
just like your father, you'll end up in jail, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, what's your dad got to do with where you're going?
Exactly.
And so when those seeds, those thoughts are sowed in people's minds, those are just terrible crimes that the people who say these things are committing. And so, as an idealist, you have to find people around you that are supportive of your ideals. So as an author, you need a muse, you
Yeah.
might need an illustrator,
Yeah.
you need a literary agent, a publisher. And so it's really important to just hang around those people who are supportive
Yeah.
and just send love to the ones that aren't. And they'll come around. They're all in good time.
One of the stories I recently heard is from